Let not the believers take those who deny the truth for their allies in preference to the believers, since he who does this cuts himself off from God in everything, unless it is to protect one against them in this way. But God warns you to beware of him, for with God is all journeys end. Q. 328. Muslims seem oblivious to or ignorant of this important aspect of Islamic teachings. Befriending non-Muslim has become cursorial. Muslim are dealing and even living with them, in a relationship, like with their fellow Muslim. Muslim women marrying non-Muslim men is strictly forbidden and haram. Read https://shakir2.wordpress.com/2015/06/22/Muslim women marrying non-Muslim men/ Although, it can be easily understood from the Quranic text that dealing with the non-Muslims, despite the requisite cordiality, compassion and empathy, ought to be within defined limitations. Non-Muslims should be helped and dealt with on purely humanitarian/empathetic grounds, but without any emotional attachment. Such attachment is permissible only with fellow Muslim. The obviating reason is that they do not subscribe to Islamic faith/religion and are rather against it. Disbelievers, in Islam, are described in Quran as the enemies of Allah, SWTQ 8:59-60. Despite the fact that they may express nothing of the sort, or may even offer a favorable opinion, which would tantamount to a lip service in the face of their disbelief. Note, from the psychological point of view, such contents of words may be fallacious, due to their, non-Muslim, long ingrained and sustained experiences. Otherwise, for their body language would be sending true but contrary messages. A formal friendship at the level of mutual dealing is, no doubt, permissible, but that too is not favored if unnecessary. In Quran it has been declared repeatedly that they would like to see you adopting their faith and way of life. Psychological truth, from everyday experiences, it is clearly evident that most often, Muslims who befriend with non-Muslims, imitate and emulate them, compromising their distinct identity and religion. So-called liberal/secularist/modernist Muslim even talk in their language, temerariously criticizing Islam, Quran and the Prophet, pbuh. It has therefore been sternly warned that such people cut off any bond with Allah, SWT, for they become one of them, disbelievers. Q. 328. Allah, SWT, in Quran, used the word zalimin instead of kafirun, likely widening the scope, to include such people. Allah therefore clearly forbids a true Muslim from keeping the company of not only the non-Muslims but also of those acting like them. It has been said in Q. 670 that unbelievers are the people who have been detained in the punishment of their evil deeds, which is further articulated in verse Q. 47:15 by declaring that their entrails will be shattered apart due to drinking boiling water as the punishment for their denial and disbelief. This verse also informs that their disbelief is harmful to those who like to sit in their company, hence would be caught up in the same punishment as the disbelievers. Maruful Quran, page 393, volume 3. As the wrong environment affects its surroundings, so does the bad company by pushing human beings into the abyss of sinfulness. This is how Allah, SWT, brings disgrace, damnation upon those who do not believe, for their hearts are not open for the truth but dash for the evil. Q. 6-125. Several verses, with varying shades of meanings, against the friendship with non-Muslims are presented in the Holy Quran. Some of which are important notice. One should not pick and choose a verse to present his/her own, skewed, point of view. Instead, a collective outcome, of all the verses on the topic, should be the one guiding and binding. Q. 2, 85 and 4, 150. Allah's enemy is your enemy. O those who believe, do not take my enemy and your enemy as friends, having love for them, and whosoever from among you do that have gone astray. Q. 60-1. A friend with them is one of them. O those who believe, do not take Jews or Christian as friends, for they are friends among themselves. And whosoever has friendship with them is one of them. Q. 551. Believers shouldn't befriend with unbelievers, even if kinfolk. You shall not find those who believe in Allah and in the hereafter having friendship with those who have enmity with Allah and His Messenger, even though they may be their fathers or sons or brothers or members of their tribes. Q. 58-22. Feeling honored/proud by having non-believers as friend. Those who take disbelievers as their allies instead of the believers, do they seek with them honor, through power? But indeed, honor belongs to Allah, SWT, entirely. Q. 4 to 139. Sitting in the company of non-believers. And it has already come down to you in the book that when you hear the verses of Allah, SWT, recited, they are denied, by them, and ridiculed, so do not sit with them until they enter into another conversation. Indeed you would then be like them. Indeed Allah, SWT, will gather the hypocrites and disbelievers in hell all together. Q. 4 to 140. The only friends. Your friends can only be Allah, SWT, His Prophet, PBUH, and those who believe. Q. 555. Social interaction with non-Muslims, for clear understanding and exercising due restraint, has been described, under four categories. Malat. Affairs of the heart, for Allah knows what is in your hearts. 329. Relations involving love or emotional attachment. This is specifically what all these verses vehemently prevent a Muslim from. Psychological reasoning. Need to belong. According to the hierarchy of needs, humans need to feel love, sexual/non-sexual, and acceptance from others. In fact, the need to belong is so innately ingrained that it may be strong enough to overcome physiological, safety needs, as well as religious restraints, such as children's attachment to abusive parents or staying in abusive romantic relationships or a Muslim woman marrying a non-Muslim man. Such examples illustrate the extent to which the psychobiological drive to belong is entrenched, hence harmful. One may, therefore, appreciate the rationale and vehemence with which Islam prohibits such a bond between the two with clashing/contradicting religious beliefs. Attachment theory. Social acts that reinforce feelings of attachment also stimulate the release of neurotransmitters such as oxytocin and endorphin, which alleviate stress and create feelings of contentment. Such contentment, however, may prove to be fleeting due to ingrained religious disparity, even if it is fictitiously presumed to be there, in the beginning, may evade soon. Prophetic injunctions. Apart from the above cited psychological reasons, there is a logically reasoned injunction issued by the Prophet, PBUH, which lays the ground rules for an association, particularly the marriage, as any other type of association is out of the question in Islam. In Islam, there is a concept of kuf, which means equal, alike, or matching. Under this principle, there are two sub-clauses which need to be considered when accepting/rejecting the marriage proposals, or contemplating an association for that matter. These are lineal homogeneity and familial homogeneity. Prophet has instructed that girls should be married in their kuf, which means equality, compatibility rather than equalness. The likeness of spouses in their religion is incumbent and necessary for the validity of the marriage. The marriage of a Muslim girl with a disbeliever is not valid, even if the girl agrees to it. So is not the interpersonal relationship. Religio-legal verdict, hukm tashri'i. The rationale here is that it is not simply the matter of right of woman, which may be dropped at her pleasure. Instead, it is the right of God, a divine injunction, under the clause of familial homogeneity. A question or doubt may be raised about the whole religio-legal verdict stated above. The validity of it has very eloquently and in unequivocal terms been stated in Quran, as Prophet has more right to men and women of his ummah, community, than their own selves, and also that, and it becomes not a believing man or woman, when Allah and His Prophet have decided an affair, for them, that they should claim any say in that matter. Surah Al-Ahzab 33, v6 and 36. Finally, Allah forbade such relationship in categorical terms in Surah Mumtahina she who is examined, number 60, v. 10 in the following words: neither these, Muslim women, are lawful for them, nor are those, unbelievers, lawful for these, believing women. All such relationships which existed at the time of revelation of this verse were ipso facto severed. Muwasat. Concern. Non-Muslims ought to be dealt with favor, generosity, compassion, sympathy, and concern. It also includes charitable help and support, condolence, consolation, or any other well-intentioned attitude of wishing them well. Confirmed in the following verse. Allah does not forbid you from treating those who have not fought with you because of your faith, nor have they driven you out of your homes, with benevolence and equity. Q. 60-8. Mudarat. Cordiality. This category of dealings involves customary cordiality, adequacy and courtesy, pleasant and mannerly politeness. Muamalat. Dealings. This category involves things such as employment, wages, industry, technology, business dealings, benevolence, and human interests. Note, most of the permissible interactions, however, would become impermissible if it becomes harmful to the interest of the general body of Muslims, such as arms sales to a group fighting against Muslims. War situation exemptions to older folks, non-belligerent folks, children, religious folks, priests/monks, etc., places of worship, livestock and crops/orchards, etc., nevertheless, would apply. Exception. An exception, under the category of malat, where there is a severe threat to one life or overarching interest, is allowed. Unless you guard yourselves against an apprehension from them, in such a case an outwardly expression of affection and love is permissible. Q. 328. This position is also supported by the Hadith. Allah, SWT, has forgiven my people from mistakes, forgetfulness, and acts done under compulsion/duress. 1. Concealment of feelings of affection and love for non-believers. Do not incline towards unjust, lest hellfire catches you. Q. 11-113. At times it happens that people emotionally attached to non-Muslims verbally deny it in the presence of fellow Muslims. Such people have been warned by Allah in the following words: whether you conceal what is in your heart or disclose it, Allah knows it. Q. 329. A superficial look at the inhibitive verses might generate an intolerant view of Islam, which is dispelled in various verses of the Holy Quran, Ahadith, Sunnah, and the dealings of the revered companions. How Prophet, Pbuh, Sahaba, and Khulafa dealt with non-Muslims? Examples. Prophet Muhammad, Pbuh, at the time of famine in Mecca, personally went out to help his enemies who drove him out of Mecca earlier. Then, after the conquest of Mecca, he gave general amnesty to all those who fought against him. Caliph Umar Farouk allowed stipends and allowance to needy non-Muslims living under his rule. An obvious question, however, may arise here: why Allah, SWT, has warned against the friendship with non-Muslims so sternly? The answer is given through a Quranic verse and a Hadith, Bukhari and Muslim. My prayer, my sacrifice, my life, my death, all are for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Q. 6-162. Prophet, Pbuh, has been reported to have said, whoever loves for the sake of Allah, SWT, and whoever hates for the sake of Allah, SWT, has perfected his faith. 2. It means that Iman/faith remains incomplete unless a Muslim's love, friendship, hate, and enmity all are subordinated to Allah Almighty. That is why at the end of verse 328, for the ones who defy this injunction, it is said that you are one of them. The premise on which the edifice of no intimate relationship with non-believers is based is the primal purport of the temporal life of a Muslim. The primal purport of a Muslim's life is to remember and serve Allah, SWT. Everything else, including all affairs of life, politics, business, government, and social relationships, ought to be subservient to this primal purport. Conclusion. Allah, SWT, therefore has strongly forbidden an intimate friendship/relationship with any non-believers under any circumstances. 1 in Nawawi's Hadith number 39, on the authority of Ibn Abbas. A Hasan, ver, Hadith related by Ibn Majah, al-Bayhaqi and others. 2 Sunan Abu Dawud 4681, great, Sahih, authentic, according to al-Albani. Author's prayer. It is hoped that this treatise would help men and women of understanding in tackling the endemic of the entrenched interpersonal relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims with divine guidance, provided through Quran and Hadith, while applying human logic and reasoning as well rather than succumbing to the reflexes of sentimentality. Note, an abridged form of this topic. https://shakir2.wordpress.com/2017/05/07/ Can Muslims be friends with non-Muslims, especially Jews and Christians? For further reading, https://shakir2.wordpress.com/2015/06/22/ Muslim women marrying non-Muslim men/ comment/feedback/share/like/follow Shakir2.wordpress.com